All right. I live in the United States. I wanted to talk today about the white slave trade. A lot of people want to talk about how Irish were slaves here. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. There were no Irish slaves in the United States. Wrong answer, bud. There were. Indentured servitude is not the same thing as slavery as far as the term slavery of that day went. Most of the Irish that came over here were refugees, not indentured service. Refugees, stowaways, pirates. The Irish had one of the largest standing armies in the United States. Standing army, that's right. Isn't that strange? What's they got to do with us? Well, the Irish weren't the only ones who were enslaved. They just happened to be the ones that the British wanted to get rid of. They shipped just as many Irishmen down to Brazil as they did to the United States. As an Irishman, you kind of had limited choices because they wanted to get all of the Irish out of Ireland, which is strange. Most of the time, the object or goal is to subjugate the people. In that case, they felt the subjugation wasn't enough because the Irish kept on coming back and kicking their asses in small bands of warfare. It don't take but 4 or 5 guys to start enough fires at once to kill hundreds of people in a camp. The white slave trade is alive today in the United States, and we know this. Most of our imports are very specifically white and very specifically from Russia. And I'm only saying that because, well, although it's rude to say that Ukrainian women are Russian, it's rude to say that Georgian women are Russian or that Belarusian women are Russian. We got a lot of women being shipped over here. 30,000 immigrants. Slaves, sorry. My most sincere apologies. City of San Diego didn't claim that there was 30,000 immigrants that came through year before last. They claimed that there was 30,000 people trafficked through their city. 30,000 people human trafficked through their city. With the cost of living on the rise, a lot of businesses won't hire you unless they can hire you under the table. If they're paying you $7 an hour, they're probably paying $21 more on top of that. Taxes, things like that. A lot of corporations get tax breaks. There's a guy who I type to every so often. He's autistic. I used some of his videos years ago when Natalie first disappeared. I was in the process of trying to get my friends educated on how damaging and hurtful and harmful they were being. Of course, they're all just going to make excuses why somehow magically it's okay. Oh, I'm a woman, poor me. No, 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 no. Female predators are not on the rise. We're just actually paying attention now. Some people are actually paying attention now. The main thing that we focus on is human trafficking, right? Do we really? Americans don't seem to give a shit. Now you guys want to tell black people that they should shut up because there's no slavery anymore. Well, that's not true. Don't get me wrong, I'm fine with you telling black people to shut up. I'm fine with them telling you to shut up. You guys can just run around telling everybody to shut up all day. Oh, we're not going to listen to you because you're white. Well, we're not going to listen to you because you're black. Fucking idiots. You know, we used to have this thing in the United States where we taught that women were inferior. And we taught that black people were inferior and that brown people were inferior. Why did we teach that? Well, here's the thing. Before we can answer that question, we got to ask ourselves why we are still teaching it. Why do we have racist hate groups like BLM? Started off as a great idea. Slaves in the United States, and you don't want to hear this, I get it. Slaves in the United States were expensive machinery. They were expensive. Buying a black person back then was extremely expensive. You wanted your slaves well fed. You wanted your slaves to work long hours, but also take a look at the South. I want you to take a look at it. Your hours of work for most jobs was sun up to sundown. That's a lot of hours. You didn't have organized, nice 8-hour schedules like we got now. The sun was up, you went to work. The sun went down, you come home from work. We got this thing, subsistence farming. It's supposed to be important, right? That's not slave labor. Well, you're right, but we've gotten to the point in the United States where the American people can't afford to take care of themselves or their families. It's the poor that you're raping for everything that they have because they're easy to victimize because they're poor. Meanwhile, and I know a lot of people ain't going to want to hear this, but the poor deserve it. They deserve it. You want to have your piddly little trailer park fights? We got slavery and human trafficking all across the United States regardless. We got a map made by the Western powers, right? And it shows human trafficking in the world. And it shows that, or not human trafficking, but slavery. And it shows that the United States has no slavery. It shows that Great Britain has no slavery. And the reality is that even Great Britain reports slave trade in Great Britain every year. It's gotten to the point, it doesn't matter what way we vote at all. It hasn't mattered which direction we vote in 40 years. It's stupid. Now we got another election coming up, right? You know, we got a bunch of punks who want to tell us which direction we need to vote, which way we need to think. Media does that real heavy, don't they? And you can tell based on station who they favor. But it's gotten to the point where the Western powers want to believe that they are so perfect. They're not. They know they're not. The United States people are, well, disgusted with the country, disgusted with the government, downtrodden and afraid. Americans love to posture. They love to posture and they love to play victim. Americans love to send troops over to Iraq and Afghanistan and complain that they got blown up. Oh, they're not fighting us fair. Dude, really? You got F-16s against farmers with pitchforks. Are you fucking kidding me? Meanwhile, the poor pay for this. You want to pretend that it's rich people paying all these taxes? No, most of them rich folks is getting some pretty hefty tax breaks. And then we've got a lot of different agencies that were used to getting a bunch of money. So they could go beat up people who are not white for being in the streets. In the 1950s, I told you this story about, I think it was 1956, where the buses came through and picked up all the brown kids in western Nebraska. Well, these didn't just go through western Nebraska. This was the whole country. The whole country shipped brown people south of the border. If you were Navajo, Pawnee, Shawnee, it didn't matter. They were going to ship you south. There was a few areas that were spared this. Oregon wasn't, but Washington State was. Washington State, a lot of y'all don't know this, but the Native Americans in Washington State were part of a very lucrative slave trade. It wasn't slavery as we might consider with Africans being beaten. Just like, of course, indentured servitude is slavery, but it's not the same as African slavery to the United States either. The United States has about a 300-year history of shipping black people over here as property. And it also has a history of enslaving the local population since 1492. Now that's obviously not the United States, is it? He landed on basically Haiti. But what we've got going now with the amount of hours that we've got to work, with the fact that we can't make an actual living, especially in a starting job. And we got a lot of people with a lot of hatred. We got a lot of youth who are very good with electronics, who will fucking power pound it. They know there's no opportunities for them. You're either born with the chance or you're fucked. You want to talk about how hard work will get you somewhere? No. No, it won't. Let's say here in the United States, we take about 10% of the population. We'll say these are our powerhouses. These are our people that if we work hard enough, but really, how many people work hard enough to be one of the Hollywood superstars? For the most part, your looks are what matters today. Now, I've seen in the 80s, looks were important and music was important. Today, it's just important that the music is performed, not sang, but performed by somebody who's good looking. The slave trade in the United States and the white slave trade in specific does need to be pointed out because we need to stop telling white people they can't be victimized. We need to stop selling this lie. We need to stop selling to the American public that poor white people don't exist. We need to stop selling this lie that white people get a fucking white privilege check. Now, obviously, that white privilege check is a metaphor for a lot of other things, isn't it? You say, oh, well, you're a white person. You don't have to worry about getting shot by the police. I got less than a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting shot by a fucking cop this year, just based off the statistics from homeless people. But we'll call it an even 1,000. We'll raise it up there. We'll call it 1 in 1,000. You, as a homeless person, this year have a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting fucking killed by a cop. You've also got a hell of a chance of getting stalked. I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue speaking up, and I'm going to continue to treat others how I'm treated. If I'm not worth hearing, neither are you. If your decisions put me at risk, or my family at risk, I'm going to speak up. Whether you did it on purpose or not is not important. Your motivations for fucking up are not important. Just fess up that you fucked up. A lot of folks didn't understand that it's not the mistake that's a felony. Most of these people, their mistakes, if criminal, are mostly misdemeanors. Mostly. But the moment you start trying to hide it, you advance that misdemeanor into a felony. There's also the fact that many of you committed crimes against me because of the tag of mentally ill and because of the way that they have used that to harm me. I'm talking about the government, the courts, primarily the police. The problem is that when you've got crooked fucking cops who don't give a fucking shit, you've got an American public who hates men and wants to accuse men of everything. Whether a man did it or not is absolutely of no consequence to the American public. He's got a penis. He's guilty because he was born with a penis. A man is expected to be both a piggy bank and a mule. And then we're told by many women how they respect our rights and they think that we should have this and we should have that. But really, these women who are fucking telling us those nice things, they're still using us as a fucking farm machinery. Now then there's this thing, ever since the 80s, all right? Because I can't speak from anything before then. I wasn't alive. But we've had this thing going on since the 80s where sex is supposed to be some sort of accepted payment for being nice to somebody or for helping somebody out of a shitty situation. Like, isn't that creepy? Now, that's not sex trafficking. sex trafficking. That's not human trafficking. That's not the slave trade. But at the same time, it's something that is not necessary. And why are we teaching that? I mean, I don't know how many comedians, female comedians, that I have heard talking about, well, if you did this, and this, you at least owe them a blowjob. Like, all right, I don't see how that joke was funny, but there's people who laughed. Of course, I didn't tell the joke, did I? I just told you the fucking shitty-ass punchline. A man does this, you ought to do this. A man does this, you ought to do that. There's a reason that lady who wanted some food for her and her son, there's a reason I tried to make it very clear there's to be no favors, there's no interest in anything like that. And that's just because people have done things to me that I felt were highly inappropriate based on the fact that I wasn't interested. It made me feel very fucking uncomfortable. It doesn't matter how uncomfortable I am, does it? I'm not going to be nice to anybody because I have to, because I don't have to. I don't owe it to you to be nice. I don't owe it to you to keep your secrets. Matter of fact, I'm not going to keep your secrets. There's a lot of stuff in the world that is screwed up. And most of it comes down to poor people in the United States being cowards. Poor people in the United States making any excuse to be complacent and lazy. I don't mean complacent and lazy in the workforce. I'm saying complacent and lazy in the protection of their own rights. Going and shooting people in Iraq or Afghanistan doesn't protect any of our rights. Homeless people are slaves. All homeless people who are forced into homeless people are both refugees and slaves. We do not get enough to get by. Thank goodness there are people who help us with food. For me, I didn't get any services. No services at all. Not till I was 36. Sorry, 37. No, I would have been 36. That's right. When I got back from Virginia, that's when somebody finally fucking gave a shit. That was the first time in my life that anybody had actually helped me how I needed instead of sending me places. This is the problem with these services. Most of them are run by women. They're run by biased women. And the problem with that is that they're not going to fucking listen to a male victim. They're not going to fucking help a male victim. Most of these services are pissed off, these women's services, that have to pretend that men are people too when they're abused. Most of these places are absolutely against it. They just have to if they're going to get their government funding. So these people don't do their fucking jobs. They make it fucking impossible for a male victim to get fucking help. And then our female friends, they want to tell us that we don't have it that bad. And then they want to cite other things that they heard from the news. Okay, so you're taking a worst case scenario And you're trying to use that worst case scenario as an excuse to ignore shit that happens to me every day. Look at the shit that happened to Zayd Atkinson's fucking Sammy Leon Lawrence IV. What did my friends do? And why did my friends do the things they did? Because they didn't fucking give a shit. I was a fucking piggy bank. Now when somebody promises to help me how I need, and then they fucking don't, and they want to change the deal. No fucking deal. No. That's what sucks. I gotta put people's fucking phone numbers up because they're stupid. Because they're sexist. Because they're racist. There are all sorts of reasons that people decide that it is okay to victimize somebody. Yes, there are black people who will go find a white person to beat up. Not bragging, but I'm one of the white people who's been beat up in those situations. I've been lucky enough not to be beaten to the point that I died, or beaten to the point that I have to go to the fucking hospital over something. Should have a few times, but didn't have to. Obviously, I didn't die. The thing is, what I needed was a friend or fucking family member to fucking help me turn this in. And no matter what, they were all just fucking with me. Saying, oh, I'll help. Tell me how I can help. Well, holy shit, first, call me. Don't make me fucking text you, stupid. Don't fucking mislead disabled people or homeless people. Don't fucking do that. Why would you fucking pretend to be my friend? Oh yeah, because for all of you, for years, I wasn't just the dude out there with the blankets. I wasn't just the guy on Pearl Street with blankets until 3 o'clock in the fucking morning. I was the guy that you came into Starbucks and sat down next to and fucking talked to and wouldn't shut up. A lot of these youngins, the only reason that they and I ever had a conversation is because they came and sat down next to me in fucking Starbucks and wouldn't shut up. And I'd tell them all the same thing. If you're not 18, you're 12. I'm not comfortable with you sitting next to me, but I don't own Starbucks, so I can't tell you to leave. Men are slaves in this country. All men. It doesn't matter if you're a black man, a white man. It doesn't matter. Men don't matter. And if we don't matter in our own country, ours, it says we the people. When a man is stalked by a woman and her friends, you will look the other fucking way while they fucking make his life a living hell. And if he tries to get help, you fucking destroy his goddamn life. You play victim. This Vicky Rain lady fucked me severely. Whether she did it on purpose or not makes no difference. The fact is that the event did happen. Is it because of her mental problems? Or did she do it on purpose? I don't care. I can't care. My evidence is what's important. That's it. Not my life. I don't have a life because I was never allowed to show that evidence in fucking court. I needed help. Instead, I'm being shipped from place to place to place. Go here, go there, go there, go here. I told you to do this. I told you to do that. I offered you this. I offered you that, motherfucker. Stop and listen. Offering me a job is not help. Let me tell you something. I am fucking disabled, you dumb son of a bitch. You treated me like shit because I'm a fucking male. You made empty promises because I'm a fucking male. I tried telling you what's going on. None of you cared because I'm a male. Then I get drunks and alcoholics and people who are completely fucking mental. Jesus fucking Christ. People who want to make a deal, and I'm fine with that deal. We agree. Fine. That is the help I need and you're willing to help. Fine, let's do it. And then you change the deal and pressure me to do something else that is expensive. I try to explain to you how doing that will fuck me, but you won't help me or listen to me unless I do what you fucking want right when you fucking want it. So then, we redo the deal for you. I keep my end. Again, you don't keep yours. Fuck it. I don't believe that any man should go to work. I don't. If I don't have any fucking rights, why go to work? If there's no goddamn reward for me, and I do mean reward. If I was a fucking caveman, I could go build myself a fucking house, or sleep in a fucking cave and be left the fuck alone if I wanted. We got a lot of population. That's your excuse, huh? We got a lot of population. We got a lot of land, too. And we do need to put a land cap on it. Matter of fact, all of these corporate land grabs need to be abolished and removed. A corporation is a business. It's for profit only. Those big businesses, the big farms, yeah, those are slave labor camps. Some of the people in the upper echelon get paid a pretty decent fucking penny, don't they? But how much are you getting? Are you getting enough for even subsistence living? And then your expectations of what you need to have. Oh, well, you know what? You need to pay all this insurance. No, we fucking paid for the doctor's goddamn education, not the doctor. We paid for it, not the banks. We paid for it, not the government. We paid for their fucking education with the sweat on our fucking brow and breaking our fucking backs. We break our backs so that you can live off of credit. Meanwhile, you're not paying the American people back, are you? You're making it impossible for them to ever get ahead. How are they ever going to possibly afford to use the machinery that they fucking paid for when they have cancer? How many millions or possibly billions of dollars did the American people contribute towards pet projects that only the rich have access to? And then there's a lot of you who have a special pet cause. You think that something should be horrible, horrible, horrible as far as consequences, right? And then you don't stop to think how easily a police officer can pretend that against a homeless person. You don't want people exposing themselves to your children at the playground, right? I agree with that. There should be a very heavy sentence with that. I believe exposing your tallywhacker to kids and drinking and driving should have the same sentence. Not the same length, but I think that both of those should be automatic prison terms. If you drink and you get behind the wheel, you are guilty of attempted murder. You know that getting drunk and driving can get people killed. Don't give me the excuse of, oh, well, I wasn't thinking right because I was drunk. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if you were fucking drunk. You did that to yourself. You got into a vehicle and you put everybody's lives at risk. Yes, I do believe you belong in prison. All right. Now I gotta expose a lot more people, and I gotta be a lot bigger asshole. Don't fuck me over. The thing is, if we're going to jump through and do what you want to fucking do, you need to shut the fuck up and find out what's going on first. How are you going to make good decisions when you don't know what's going on? If you're busy talking over me, if you are busy telling me that you don't have the time when your friend comes to you for help, you're not a friend. And those of you who say, oh, Sean, well, your situation is so complicated. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't this complicated when I first went to my friends for help. They just didn't give a shit. They wanted weed, they wanted cigarettes, they wanted beer, they wanted sex, they wanted everything under the fucking sun. And most of those things I'm not willing or capable of providing. This is fucking cruelty. Cruelty.